Good morning, dear students, 12th F and 12D. Uh, you see, I'm recording this video because we are short of time. I have completed two poems with both of you, that is, with both sections. Now, in this video, I will complete the third poem. And remember, I'll share it both on WhatsApp group as well as on Microsoft Team for your different channels. And when we meet according to our timetable, that is, with 12th F, I'd be meeting on Tuesday, 12 o'clock, and with 12D, I'll be meeting on Thursday. I think it's 12 o'clock again. So then we'll take up lesson 4. In another video, I'll record after this one, I'll introduce you to lesson 4 so that you see doing the lesson becomes easy and we are able to complete it quickly because I want to complete your course by the first week of December. Uh, so please cooperate and also make sure that larger number of students attend the meeting, attend the classes, you know. So for the time being, um, let's, you know, let's take up the poem. Um, just a minute. Um, let me fix the mic. Um, it's actually yes, it's fine now. Um, so um, this is the last poem in our course on Jennifer's Tigers. Let's read the introduction about the poetess. This one is Adrienne Rich, born in 1929, and we are not sure whether she has yet passed away or not. Um, she was born in Baltimore, Maryland, USA. She is widely known for her involvement in contemporary women's movement as a poet and theorist. She has published 19 volumes of poetry, three collections of essays, and other writings. A strong resistance to racism and militarism echoes through her work. Well, militarism refers to warlike tendencies, military ideals. So she was against violence of any kind. And of course, she was also against racism. That is, you know, clash between black and white and any clash on the base of races. The poem Aunt Jennifer's Tigers addresses the constraints of married life a woman faces or experiences. Now, you see, what happens uh, in third world countries, it's very common. Women are ill treated by their husbands, and uh, their individuality is crushed. They don't have that much freedom, and they are exploited. Most of them are treated like housemates. This is very wrong. Uh, as wives, women are actually homemaker, and they should get their due. There's no denying about the fact. As you have read Mother's Day last year. Now, the point is, one might say that the poetess is against the institution of marriage. No, nowhere in the poem she says that she is against marriage or marital institution. She only takes an isolated example and shows how crushed the woman is at the hand of her husband. But the one major drawback of the poem is that although you get to see the point of view of uh, Aunt Jennifer, but the uncle's point of view is not there. So it's a kind of a limited experience that the poet conveys. Okay, so uh, what Aunt Jennifer does is that she embroiders some tigers in wool, and the whole poem is about that. Embroidery, is the art of ornamenting designs in fabric with the help of needles. You remember Mr. M. Hamill, the cap that he was wearing was embroidered. So the points that uh, we'll focus on some of the special images and symbols in the poem, interpret them, and try to understand uh, what kind of suffering um, Aunt Jennifer undergoes. Uh, and It's interesting that Aunt Jennifer has created tigers which are quite in contrast to her own condition. We'll try to find the reason for that. And we'll also see whether the speaker sympathizes with Aunt Jennifer or and then whether we sympathize, what is our attitude. Now, in this poem, there are two important aspects. The poet has used certain dominant colors and certain dominant sounds in order to highlight uh, certain aspects of what she says to intensify the meaning. So there is a lot of alliteration. Consonant sounds are repeated. Most of the that are repeated are consonants. So there is alliteration. So this is the introduction to the poem. Now, let's come to the poem itself. Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen, bright topaz denizens of a world of green. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. They pace in sleek, chivalric certainty. Now, before explaining, I'd give you the meanings of some difficult words here. You see, to prance is to move with short, high steps. Screen here refers to a curtain. Topaz is transparent yellow stone used in jewelry called pukraj in our language. And they walk with quick, measured steps, regular steps. Sleek, well groomed, well attended, looking very smart, shining. Though they've given the word elegant for it, they too have given the meaning of sleek, elegant. So they're nice looking. And certainty here means confident. Now I come to the word chivalric. Well, chivalry used to be an ideal in Middle Ages. British society was hierarchical. We used to have knights, squires, and so on. The highest social rank was that of knight, Knight. So these people, the people who were honorable, brave, who were respectable towards women, who were polite, and were an ideal to the entire society. Uh, they were called knights, and those people who were who were respectable towards women, they were called chivalric. Chivalric. Now let's try to understand the poem. Aunt Jennifer, as I told you, has embroidered tigers on the curtain, and those tigers, in fact, seem to be prancing, jumping across the screen. And these tigers are called bright topaz. That means their color is bright yellow. And they are denizens of a world of green. They are the dwellers living in a world of green. Um, Denizen, they've given the word denizen here. Denizen, according to the book, means a person, an animal, or a plant that lives, grows, or is found often in a particular place. So, denizen, in simple words, is a dweller. Now, first of all, notice the repetition of sound in the first two lines. Aunt Jennifer's tigers, Z sound is repeated to emphasize the value of tigers and the value of the importance of Aunt Jennifer. Then Sir sound, prance across a screen. This shows as if the tigers have got a lot of vitality. Then again, bright topaz, denizens of a world of green. Z sound is again repeated to show that the animals are, though they are embroidered, but they are full of life. Now, these tigers, they do not fear the men beneath the tree. They are confident, they are brave, but Aunt Jennifer does fear the men. So this shows the contrast between Aunt Jennifer and the tigers that she herself has created. They are brave. Aunt Jennifer is subdued. She is afraid of the men, and the tigers are not afraid of the men. And they are, you know, prancing, jumping, and they are confident, moving with certainty. And moreover, they are chivalric. They've got respect towards women, unlike the uncle. This is contrasted with the uncle. Uncle is not chivalric. She's got no respect for women, no consideration for them. So, this first stanza then shows the creatures that she has created and how sharply these creatures contrast with the condition of Aunt Jennifer herself. And this further intensifies the misery of Aunt Jennifer. It, in fact, clearly reveals how very crushed Aunt Jennifer is. Now, look at the second stanza. Aunt Jennifer's fingers are fluttering through her wool. Find even the ivory needle hard to pull. The massive weight of Uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. So as she embroiders, she you know finds it very difficult to move even the ivory needle, a needle made of ivory, which is very light. Ivory is the tooth of an elephant, Hathi Daat. So the fingers are fluttering, shaking through her wool. So she finds even the ivory needle hard to pull. This shows that she's afraid of something or she's feeling the pressure of something. And this is the pressure of the massive weight of Uncle's wedding band, which sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. Now, this is a metaphor or a symbol. You see, band, in fact, basically symbolizes the wedding band. Hmm? But actually, it stands for wedding band, but that is the literal meaning, you might say. But its symbolic meaning is that this band, instead of becoming a symbol of um, a bond between a woman and a husband, a woman and a man, it symbolize it should stand for a bond, a friendship between the wife and the husband. But ironically, it becomes a symbol of bondage for Aunt Jennifer. And that is why she feels its weight, its massive weight, its pressure that she is the wife of somebody. And if she continues drawing so, then she fears that uncle might react very angrily to this. So she is feeling the pressure of the bondage of the uncle, you know. That is why she finds it difficult to pull the ivory needle. Now, see the next one. When Aunt Jennifer is dead, her terrified hands will still lie, still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. The tigers in the panel she has made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. Now, this is an exaggeration clearly. The poet means to say that she has suffered so much that even after her death, she would feel, uh, recall the suffering of her life, married life, The terrified hands would lie, still ringed, you know, would lie, still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. Here, the ring literally means the wedding ring. When the woman dies and the husband is alive, so she usually carries the wedding ring to the tomb. So she would still be wearing wedding ring, but symbolically it stands for shackles, hatkari. It became a kind of a shackle for her. It curved all her freedom, all her individuality. So her hands would still be ringed with, this time the poet says, ordeals she was mastered by. So, as I said, it symbolizes shackles, and the poet adds another meaning to it, that is, the harsh experiences that she has undergone, ordeals, परीक्षाएं इसको कहते हैं जैसे अग्नि परीक्षा, tough exam, tough tests, trials that she has undergone throughout the marital life. So the ring may stand for those harsh experiences as well, and it may also stand for shackles. So, you know, she has suffered so much. As opposed to this, the tigers that in the panel she has made will go on prancing proud and unafraid, quite in contrast to Aunt Jennifer. The tiger will always remain unafraid and proud, and they will be prancing. Prancing symbolically suggests that they would enjoy freedom. Now, Aunt Jennifer had to compromise her individuality, her freedom, her dignity, and she never got that position of a homemaker. She was worse than a housemaid. And tigers, in fact, serve two purposes. Firstly, they are the symbol of a woman's creativity. Uh, the screen symbolizes the range on which this creativity is expressed. Secondly, they, establish a contrast between themselves and the condition of Aunt Jennifer. This intensifies the misery of Aunt Jennifer and exposes the misery of Aunt Jennifer more intensely. So they serve two purposes. And I forgot to mention one thing. The tigers are chivalric, and the word denizen is also important. They are not called animals, they are called denizens, dwellers, dwellers, inhabitants like us, citizens. And dwellers, citizens, or you know, human beings, what they've got a civic sense. They are civilized beings. Though they live in a world of green, they are not carnivorous creatures only. They are civilized beings. So this is an indirect comment on the uncle, suggesting that perhaps the uncle who boasts of civilization is actually uncivilized, because obviously if a person is treating his wife in such a cruel manner, then he can never be called civilized. So the uncle is neither civilized nor chivalric, whereas the tigers are civilized and chivalric. So actually I've got a sore throat. Don't mind if you find my voice a bit heavy. Um, so let's now come to the questions. How do denizens and chivalric add to our understanding of Tiger's attitude? Well, I've just pointed out that the word chivalric suggests that the Tiger's attitude, uh, you know, is that of respect towards women. They are brave, proud, confident, honorable, and the word denizen suggests that they are civilized beings. They are not just animals, and they've got civic sense. They are civilized beings. Why do you think Aunt Jennifer's hands are fluttering through a wool in the second stanza? Why is she finding the needle so hard to pull? Well, obviously, she feels the pressure, the massive weight of Uncle's wedding band that has in fact become a bondage for them, for her. So she is like a slave because the band is there on her arms. So she's feeling the pressure, the weight of that, and indirectly, she is actually, fearing the reaction of the uncle. So because of that, she finds even the ivory needle hard to pull. Now they say, what is suggested by the massive weight of the uncle's wedding band? Well, I've just told you. Literally, it refers to the wedding band, the band that it should stand ideally for a bond, for a friendship between wife and husband. But in this case, the band becomes a bondage, and Aunt Jennifer becomes a slave. So that is why this band, carries a massive weight for them. For this wedding band carries a massive weight for Aunt Jennifer. So it becomes a symbol of cruelty. It becomes a symbol. So it symbolizes how Aunt Jennifer is exploited. Of what or of whom Aunt Jennifer is terrified in stanza 3? Uh, well, the third stanza, as we all know, Aunt Jennifer is, terrified with the ordeals she was mastered by. And ordeals she was mastered by suggest several things. That is the harsh experiences that she has undergone and how cruelly she has been treated. She was mastered by, controlled by those harsh experiences, and the uncle kept on committing one cruelty after the other to her, so she would feel the terror of that. Then they ask us, what are the ordeals that Aunt Jennifer is surrounded by? Why is it significant that the poet uses the word ringed? What are the different meanings of the word ringed in the poem? Okay, what are the ordeals? The ordeals are that the Aunt Jennifer, apart from maybe there would have been physical cruelties, but she has to compromise, surrender her individuality, her desire of freedom, her self-confidence, her personality, her talent. Everything was crushed. Um, so every time she tried to express herself, she faced some or the other cruelty from her husband. So these might be the ordeals. The author doesn't clarify, the poet doesn't clarify it. It may be physical tortures as well. So it is this that the Aunt Jennifer is surrounded by. And it is important, it is really very significant that the poet uses the word ring, because ring refers to the wedding ring, which should ideally stands for happiness, marital happiness. But unfortunately, it symbolizes shackles. It became like a shackle for Jennifer. And, the different meanings, it's different meanings in the poem. The main meaning is shackles. Uh, you know, the ring um, becomes a kind of ring, also means a kind of a circle, a kind of a range, and it's very small because it's worn on a finger. So this range, this circle, this also shows the range or the circle that Aunt Jennifer was allowed to move in. एक छोटा सा दायरा था उनका, बस वो उसी दायरे में मूव कर सकती थी, within kitchen and serving uncle, that's all. She had nothing of her own. This can be another meaning of the word ring. So ये shackle से ही connected है. जब कोई shackled हो, जिसके हाथ ही बंधे हुए हों, तो वो फिर limited ही activity कर सकता है. So her activities were limited. Then they say that, why do you think Aunt Jennifer created animals that are so different from her own character? What might poet be suggesting through this difference? Well, Aunt Jennifer is quite clear. She's created such animals which are different from her own character because she wants to give desire to her freedom of individuality and freedom. Freedom in particular. She wanted a peaceful life, a nice life, like the life of the tigers, where, like the tigers, she should also be unafraid, confident. She should be able to enjoy life. So that's, I mean, it gives, she gave expression to her desire. Now, the poet suggests that, the tigers, actually, the tigers that she has embroidered, it shows the women's creativity. They've got a creative power. And if they are encouraged, they can express it. As I said, the screen symbolizes the range on which this creativity is expressed. Then they ask us to interpret the symbols in the poem. We have done that. You see, the tigers symbolize um, freedom, individuality, enjoyment, confident. They are proud, whereas Aunt Jennifer is afraid. The tigers are chivalric, they've got civic sense, whereas the uncle is, though he's a human being, he lives in the civilized world, but he's not civilized because she's cruel to his wife. And the tigers, on the other hand, they live in the world of grain and still they've got civic sense. They are civilized beings and they are chivalric as well. They are confident. Then I have referred to massive weight of uncle's wedding band. That is also a symbol, as I told you, a symbol of bondage. And then the ringed. Ring ideally stands for wedding ring. It symbolizes shackles, or a small range on which Aunt Jennifer was allowed to work on or um, live within. So उनका दायरा बहुत छोटा था. So you know these are some of the major symbols, and I have interpreted them. Now the question: do you sympathize with Aunt Jennifer? Yes, we do sympathize. The kind of depiction that we have read especially evokes our sympathy. We would feel sympathy for such a woman. And the attitude of the speaker is also that of sympathy. So you see, this is the third poem in your course that we have completed just now. Um, now, um, you see, in the next voice note today itself, um, I'll give you the introduction to lesson 4, that is Rat Trap, and even give you a brief summary of that so that when we do the text, it becomes easy for you. Okay, so for the time being, goodbye to all of you.